Hello everyone. I hope everybody's having a great morning thus far. We're going to jump right on in and get started. First and foremost, welcome and thank you for joining our June 2014 webinar, The Importance of Early Design Usability Testing. My name is Matt Bruce and I'm going to be your presenter today. I'm a user experience here at Usability Sciences Corporation, and what we do here at Usability Sciences is we test a wide variety of different products, software, hardware, websites, all across a wide variety of different industries. For today's presentation, we're going to take a look at a U.S. government website that launched back in October of 2013, Healthcare.gov. We'll be looking into some of the fundamental usability issues that plagued this website from its inception. We'll also share some best practices for websites such as Healthcare.gov and those like it. We know that your time is valuable, so we'll keep this presentation to about 20 minutes. We'll follow the presentation by a Q&A session using the GoToWebinar feature that you should see there on your screen. And you can get a copy of this presentation later, as we'll be sending out a link to it via the email addresses you used when you signed up for this webinar. The first thing I wanted to do was talk a little bit about usability testing in general. What is usability testing and why is it so important? So what is usability testing? Usability testing is used to assess simply how easy is a user interface to use. The word usability also refers to methods for improving ease of use before and during the design process. Some of the things that usability testing evaluates are: how easy is it for users to accomplish basic tasks? How quickly can users complete those tasks? How many errors do users make? How severe are those errors? And how easily can users recover from them? Also, simply put, how pleasant is the design to the users that are using them? So why do usability testing? Usability testing is proven to decrease support costs. It also increases user satisfaction and can save a great deal of money on development and redesign efforts. Usability testing also can help determine if your site is simply usable. If you do not have solid data about how users experience your site, a usability study provides the qualitative feedback that will help improve your overall interactive experience. One very important thing to remember about usability testing is that usability testing measures behaviors, not preferences. Users are notoriously bad at articulating exactly what they want. However, by observing and measuring behavior, we can understand what best supports their goals and motivations. And last but not least, usability testing can help you gain a competitive advantage. A poor user experience can and will have a negative impact on your brand. However, a good website experience, since it's expected by users, will help give you an edge over all of your competitors. What we're going to do now is talk a little bit about the study that we conducted when it comes to Healthcare.gov. A little bit of a background before we get into the actual study itself. Let's look at some key data points here regarding Healthcare.gov. Healthcare.gov launched on October 1st of 2013. From when the site launched, there was an original goal set of having 7 million individuals enroll for health insurance by March 31st of 2014. Which means they needed to average about 1.1 million enrollees per month for that 6-month period. At the end of the first month, on November 1st of 2013, 106,105 people had enrolled for health insurance. By the end of the second month, on December 1st of 2013, a total of a little over 216,000 people had enrolled for health insurance. So clearly they were a little bit behind target. At this point in time, it was announced that changes were going to be made to the site to improve its user experience, and the number of enrollees increased exponentially from that point forward. One figure that exemplifies this perfectly is that on March 31st, 2014, within a 24-hour period alone, over 1 million people were able to enroll for health insurance. So here's a little bit about the study that we conducted. The objective, simply put, was to evaluate the overall ease of use and navigation of Healthcare.gov. Our testing method was that we brought in participants and we tested out the desktop website Healthcare.gov in a lab one-on-one setting for about 60 minutes per session. Our testing plan involved asking users to complete a set of basic tasks. The first task was to find and compare health plans. The second was to pick a plan that best suited them. And the third was to create an account. Throughout the course of our study, we were able to put together a list of 5 top findings that we found were causing the most issues for Healthcare.gov. Here we're going to go ahead and explain those to you one by one. The first finding that we were able to uncover was that the website had very poor calls to action. As you can see outlined in red, the Apply Online and the Apply by Phone button were much larger than the See Plans Now button, which is actually where the users needed to go to find plans before they could evaluate and decide which plan was best for them. Best practices here when it comes to call to action buttons dictate that you need to direct users exactly where they need to go and make all call to action buttons that are of equal importance equally prominent on the homepage. The second finding that we were able to uncover was that there was a very strong lack of task guidance. This page that was shown prior to the account creation process provided users with very little indication as to what they needed to do to create an account and what they were about to get into when the process started. Process-like iconic graphics, such as the ones you see here outlined in red, don't really explain the account setup process at all. While the second circle might look like a computer, we challenge anybody to guess the meaning of the illustration in the first circle. The problem with these is these illustrations are downright harmful because they prime users to expect a mysterious and very difficult process. Best practices on situations like these indicate that prior to processes, you should always answer questions for users like, how much time will this process take? Do users need any specific information before they get started? And is this part of a larger process? If so, where does this fit into the big picture? The second finding that we were able to find when it comes to the actual account creation process was the fact that the number of steps in the process were very unclear. As you can see pointed out outlined in red, the 3 gray dots on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen gave little indication as to where at in the process the users were. Best practices here indicate that steps of a process should always be numbered, or a percentage completion bar should be displayed at the top of the screen, as opposed to 3 gray dots on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen that you can see here featured on Healthcare.gov. The third finding that we were able to reveal was during the account username and password creation process. As you can see here, the username requirements were unnecessarily complex. Complex username and password schemes require more concentration than most people are willing to commit to a seemingly simple process. Many people do not read instructions, and complex requirements will always generate more errors, cause user frustration, and increase system load. Some benefits to using email addresses as usernames, which is what our recommendation would be here, is that email addresses are usually always a unique identifier. Email addresses are much easier for users to remember, and just simply the fact that this is a standard practice that is used on millions of other websites. Taking a look at the password requirements, it's important to note that if you look at the requirements for the username and the password, Note that the / character is allowed in usernames, but it is prohibited in passwords. While this may appear to be a smaller issue, it adds to the confusion because it lacks consistency. It's better to either avoid listing these cryptic characters or have the same list for both pieces of user input. Complex password schemes often create a flurry of errors and, worse, high abandonment rates. The recommendation here is to work with your security experts to determine what drives each of these requirements and then determine if these are reasonable. It's important to be persistent to get to the bottom of this complexity in order to figure out how to eliminate problems such as these. The next finding that we were able to come across was unhelpful error messaging. Errors are a fact of web life. Designers and developers are working tirelessly to prevent them, but when they can't, the next best thing is to find an easy way to recover from them. It's difficult to recover, though, from an error when the cause of the error is not identified. As you can see here, stating this is not a valid username is not a very good indication as to what the user needs to do to correct their error. What we have here is a good example of an error message from Blue Cross Blue Shield's website, and as you can see in the red, it says, "Please enter a valid zip code to continue. Thank you." This indicates that the error that was made was that an invalid zip code was made, or was entered or not entered, as opposed to above in the Healthcare.gov example, it just simply says this is not a valid username, which forces the user to have to go back and read the original paragraph of text. The last finding that we were able to uncover was simply that pages lacked detail. Users needed to come to Healthcare.gov to select a health insurance plan, and as part of that process, they needed necessary information to evaluate and determine which plan was right for them. However, once users finally navigated to the healthcare plan pages, there really wasn't anything to go over. The only information provided was the name of the plan and the estimated monthly cost. Users expected to be able to click through or hover over the plan names and have more information made available. Users stated during our study unequivocally that this was not enough information to proceed with the purchase, and they would most likely abandon the process. What we have here is an example from Aetna.com of the right way to handle a situation like this. As you can see outlined in red, the non-metallic plan select temp PPO, and in parentheses it says 1 to 6 month coverage, is a clickable hyperlink that gives users the ability to click and access additional information. Also, to the right here, you'll see a small snapshot of information such as network, individual deductible, individual out-of-pocket maximums, co-insurance percentages, office pay co-pays, and then ultimately monthly premium prices. This gives users the ability to see a snapshot, but then also have the ability to click to acquire any additional information if they're interested in doing so. So let's kind of summarize exactly what we've talked about today. Poor calls of action. The key takeaway here is to make it clear and provide equal prominence to call of action buttons up front that help users know exactly how to get started. A lack of task guidance. Prepare users before tasks, guide them through tasks, and then let them know when they're finished. Unnecessary roadblocks. Don't overcomplicate simple processes such as creating usernames and passwords that cause frustration and can cause page abandonment. Unhelpful error messaging. Errors happen. It's a fact of life. It's the recovery from those errors, though, that are the most important. Pages lacking detail. Provide users with the key information that they need to proceed down important paths. If users can't find what they need, they'll leave and they'll find it from a competitor's site. So what are some key takeaways from today? Usability testing done early and done often will save you time and it will save you money. Usability testing will help you find out if your site is truly usable. Usability testing tests behaviors, not preferences. Usability testing and everything that you can take away from it will help to ultimately enhance your brand and enhance your company's bottom line. And last but not least, in the marketplace, having done usability testing early and often, it will help you gain a competitive advantage over all of the competitors in your market. And last but not least, if I could leave you with one message, it's important to remember that usability testing, it does a website good. Here's a brief snapshot of some of our other clients that we've worked with recently across a wide variety of different markets and different disciplines. If you'd like any additional information or if you have any specific questions that you'd like to ask me, feel free to contact us here at www.usabilitysciences.com or feel free to shoot me an email as my email address here, mbruce@usability.com. mbruce@usabilitysciences.com is displayed here at the bottom, and we'd love to answer any questions or concerns that you may have.